The UFC summer schedule rolls on with the UFC Fight Night from Abu Dhabi. This one is headlined by number 5 Robert Whittaker taking on the surging Reinier Ditter. This fight taking place at 185 pounds over there in Etihad Arena. It's a big one for the middleweight division. Hello, everybody. Brett Okamoto alongside Ian Parker. We are here to break down this afternoon card from a gambling perspective, and we're going to get into that. But before we do, we will take a look back at UFC 318, Dustin Poirier's final ride. How did we do at the window, Mr. Parker?
The night started off good, and then it slowly went downhill. I was happy to see our boy Dustin go off into the sunset in an absolute banger. It would have been nicer to get that win. However, we did hit that main event, which ended the night with at least a win, but still a losing night. I've been waiting for this bounce back to go on a streak. It's got to happen sooner or later. Let's make it happen now.
Yeah, I mean, let's be clear about it. We've been a little bit cold. We are doing everything we can to turn that around. We're going to look to do so on Saturday. Starts with the main event between Robert Whittaker and Ditter. Whittaker coming in as a minus 170 favorite. Ditter getting this opportunity coming off of a win against Bo Nickal, in which he was a plus 295 underdog to Bo Nickal. Now he's only plus 140 here against Robert Whittaker. How are you looking to play this 5-round main event, Ian?
Well, Brett, this is one of those fights where either Ditter is really that up-and-coming star that he's been looking like, or Robert Whittaker is washed or he's not. I don't think he's washed, and I think this number makes a lot of sense for me to take Robert Whittaker here. Let me tell you why. Starting off on the Whittaker side, him losing in the first round to Khamzat Chimaev, I don't think that makes him any less of where he could possibly be between now and his next few fights. Chimaev can do that to anybody in multiple divisions. Before that, Whittaker knocked out Aliskerov. Before that, so I mean, look, Whittaker on the feet in this fight is the better striker. Ditter does not have great striking. This is somebody that might have the size advantage, and if the fight goes to the floor and Ditter's able to get on top, fine. But Whittaker, I believe, has anywhere from a 79 to an 81% takedown defensive percentage, which is extremely high. And when you don't have that striking to threaten that, it makes it harder to wrestle people and take them down. So on top of that, we've seen Ditter fade as the fight goes on. And another point, level of competition, man. Look, as good as Ditter has been in the UFC since he's come in here, 3 rounds where he finished Mearshart in the 3rd round, which on the feet, he was losing that fight. Mearshart's not a great striker. He got Kevin Holland, but Kevin Holland at middleweight is not the same Kevin Holland we've seen at welterweight with knockouts, submissions, etc. And then taking on Bo Nickal, where we knew Bo was hyped with the wrestling, but Bo didn't wrestle. Bo stood on the feet, and he got out-grappled by Ditter. For me, I like Robert Whittaker here. If he keeps his fight on the feet and gets out of round 1, he could take Ditter into deep waters while Ditter fades. Give me Whittaker at minus 170. Either I'm being tricked completely here, or Whittaker's loss to Chimaev won't mean much in regards to this matchup.
Yeah, this line seems completely bonkers to me. And I just mentioned that Ditter was plus 295 against Bo Nickal, and now he's only plus 140 against Robert Whittaker. And to your point, the Khamzat Chimaev fight, I think you just throw it completely out. I mean, what Khamzat does is kind of unique to himself, but the question here is the grappling. When you have really dug into this matchup from a grappling perspective, that's the big question, right? If Ditter can out-grapple Robert Whittaker, then I guess maybe you understand why this line is even moving towards Ditter. Their money is coming in. Robert Whittaker has dropped from minus 190 to 170. So when you look at the grappling specifically of this fight, how do you anticipate it going, Ian?
I mean, look, people seem to forget Whittaker's a good wrestler too, and his takedown defense at middleweight has been against much better offensive wrestlers than Ditter. So Ditter's wrestling is not where it stands out. It's his submission game when he gets the fights on the floor. But the fight starts on the feet. If he can't do what Khamzat did to Whittaker and do it quick while he's still dry and not sweaty, I don't think Ditter's going to get that opportunity to sub him. And even if he does get Whittaker there, it doesn't mean he's going to submit him per se either. Whittaker has got very sound jiu-jitsu defense as well. I feel like Robert Whittaker, no matter how good he has been, always flies under the radar from an overall skilled fighter. And if you take it skill from skill, you throw the Khamzat fight out the window, you would say Whittaker is a minus 300 here. So I think the value is here. I think people are getting excited over a chance to take an underdog and what Ditter has done. But there's a huge difference between Holland, Mearshart, and Bo compared to Bobby Knuckles. And that's where I stand. So that's why when it comes to the grappling, I'm not scared. I've seen Ditter all his fights and won. I think Whittaker can handle the grappling and dominate in the striking.
I think there's obvious value here in Robert Whittaker, but that's what makes me nervous, is because when it's obvious in the gambling world, it's usually wrong. But to me, Robert Whittaker
I hate when you do that.
seems like a very, very obvious play. Let's move on in either event to the co-main event. Petr Yan taking on Marcus McGee, which it seems like Marcus McGee should be a younger guy, right? Because he's still on the come up. He's only 4-0 in the UFC, so it feels like he's got some momentum behind him. This guy's already 35 years old, so he's not a young buck. He's taking on Petr Yan, who of course is looking to get back into that title picture. Yan, a big favorite, 4-1. What do you think of this 135-pound matchup?
Well, look, when it comes to Petr Yan fights, you know, you're used to kind of with him doing the 5 rounds where you see him take off round 1 and he comes back as the fight goes on. So for me, it's always a Petr Yan to win by decision, and that's what I like here. I do think that McGee's volume could be a little bit of trouble. So if Petr Yan doesn't get going in round 1, it'll make me a little nervous because he's going to have to come back in rounds 2 and 3. We just saw when McGee fought against Jonathan Martinez, those leg kicks, he's a little susceptible to that. I think there's just a huge difference between what Yan has done compared to McGee. Despite the age, to your point, McGee might look like a prospect, but he's a seasoned guy with his age and how many fights he has total MMA career. Big step up here. This is going to be my prop of the night. Petr Yan should win this fight. Will he finish McGee? I don't think so. So let's go Petr Yan to win by decision for the prop of the night.
All right, so there's your prop of the night, and we're moving on from there to your premium play of the night. We've got a few best bets coming from you as well, but this is your best of the best bets, your premium play. Where are we going for that on Saturday?
You know what? There was a few that I was really keen on, but I'm trying to go a little bit of a different route here. I've not done well with this the last few, I think 3 cards I've missed. This one, I'm going to go over 1.5 between Salikov and Carlos Leal. So I've known Carlos Leal for a really long time through LFA, calling fights of his in the PFL. And with Leal, when he fights someone that's actually really good, he doesn't knock them out, okay? Carlos has got unbelievable durability, good physicality. He also has good jiu-jitsu here, but he's fighting someone in Salikov who's the better technical striker. He's a karate guy. He knows how to keep a distance and stay away from trouble. Salikov did get knocked out by Randy Brown. I believe it's the lone knockout loss in his UFC career and overall MMA career. He's going to look to keep distance or get really tight. I think this fight's going to go into the 3rd round where maybe a finish will happen there. Let's go over 1.5. I'm going based on Leal's durability and Salikov's distance point striking. I think this fight's going to get a little further. We've seen Leal go 3 rounds in the UFC. We've seen him knocking out Morano. Doesn't bother me at all. Salikov is a different demon there. Over 1.5, minus 150. Let's do it.
Okay, so we're taking the over there, even despite the fact that a little bit of an uneven fight in terms of the odds on winner loser. We're taking the over 1.5, minus 150. Let's move on to the rest of your best bets. The first one we will go to the strawweight division. Amanda Heba's taking on Tabitha Ricci. What do you got here for a best bet?
And by the way, I think the Leal fight, he's way too big of a favorite in that one. But I like Amanda Hebas here. Better striker, where Ricci is good in the throws and the Greco-Roman, judo. That's where Hebas also succeeds. I think this is going to be a very typical fight on the feet. Hebas will have more volume there, maybe get a throw here and there. So we're going to go with Amanda Hebas to win by decision. I liked her at minus 185. That number shot up to minus 200. Not willing to lay that level of chalk. Getting her a decision at minus 115, where Ricci is very hard to finish. That's the play. Hebas by decision.
Okay, so taking a method of victory there for a best bet. How about moving on to the 205-pound division? We got a fight between Nikita Krylov and Bogdan Guskov. That is where we'll go for your next best bet. Which direction are we headed?
Yeah, if this goes any higher, I would probably lay off. Between these two, Nikita Krylov is the much better overall fighter. We've seen him do great work against better level competition. The question is, how does he bounce back off the knockout loss to Dominic Reyes? Fighting someone in Guskov, who, yes, looks like Anthony Smith, but fights completely different, has got tremendous knockout power. Krylov can out-wrestle him, take this fight to the floor, where the huge advantage is, you know, Guskov does not have any jiu-jitsu really off his back. He hasn't fought the level of competition Krylov has fought. I think this number should have been minus 235, so I'm going to take it at minus 190. Give me Krylov to bounce back and win this fight.
Minus 235, we're getting 45 of value there on a pick for Nikita Krylov getting it done over Bogdan Guskov. And we got one more best bet for you. It happens in the 145-pound division. Tell me about it, Ian.
Look, I'm going to go with Steve Wynn here to win and over 1.5 rounds. 3-1 favorite. By taking the over 1.5, he's getting -115. His opponent has decent durability. He was finished in his last fight in the first round, but Wynn tends to pick up his power, pick up his striking volume as the fight goes on. I expect him to really turn it up in round 2. We're going to be holding our breath for the 7.5 minutes in the beginning of the fight. I think Wynn gets it done. End of second, early third. So we're going to go with him to win over 1.5 at -116.
All right, so a little bit of everything here. We got some overs, we got some props out there, and now to finish it up, we will talk about our parlays. First one up is the long shot parlay on UFC on ABC. Where are we going for the long shot, Ian?
Well, look, I think everyone and their mother thinks that the Pirates are shoo-in to win if this fight stays on the feet. But I will tell you, Marc-Andre Barriault, I know his team really well, and he's going to wrestle here, man. He has to. We've seen it. He has a ground game. And the Pirate, Shara Bullet, does not. If he can wrestle here and stay away from just brawling, Marc-Andre Barriault, I think, is valued at +425. Jose Ochoa, I love this kid, man. He's so good. My only concern is the takedown defense against Asu. However, if this fight stays on the feet, he's got a tremendous striking advantage. The pressure is there. As long as he doesn't tire out early, he's live. And last but not least, Saeed Nurmagomedov, the underdog against Bryce Mitchell, making his debut. I think people are going to assume that Bryce is going to out-cardio this guy, but if this fight stays standing, Nurmagomedov is the way better striker, has submissions himself. I don't think he should even be +120. I think it should be a -110 each side. So let's go with these 3 dogs. I think they're all live.
There you go. There's your long shot parlay. How about Parker's parlay for UFC Fight Night in Abu Dhabi?
Yeah, last week I was a Kevin Holland short, so I'm going to bounce back here. Give me Damon Blackshear over Davy Grant. As durable as Grant is, as fun as he is, Blackshear is showing us time and time again he continues to get better as a well-rounded mixed martial artist. Petr Yan and McGee over 2.5. As I said before, when it's a Petr Yan fight, it's death, taxes, Petr Yan by decision. If I think that's going to decision, over 2.5, let's go. And Ibo Aslan, I think he's going to knock out Billy Alakena here, -275 on the money line. We're getting +125 on the 3-legger. I'm getting this parlay this week at 2 units.
It's 3 Eastern, noon Pacific. It takes place on ABC here in the U.S. Hopefully we made you a little bit smarter, put some more money in those pockets. Robert Whittaker looking to get the victory as a -170 favorite. We're taking him. We're taking him here against Reinier Ditter. We will find out in the main event of UFC on ABC. Enjoy the fights, and we'll see you next time on UFC Best Bets.